you expect the road to be smooth, you will spend your whole life disappointed. The Stoics knew this well. What happens to you is less important than how you respond. Perseverance is the art of rising one more time than you fall. Let's be honest, most people give up too soon. They let the sting of rejection or the weight of a single defeat convince them it's over. But look closer. Every story of lasting success is a story of perseverance, not ease. Consider history. Nelson Mandela spent 28 years in prison and emerged not broken but stronger, his perseverance sparking freedom for an entire nation. Isaac Newton, forced into isolation during a year of plague, spent 16-hour days in quiet labor, laying the foundation for modern science. They were not extraordinary because of innate talent alone. They became extraordinary because they refused to give up, even when everything around them said they should. So, how does this apply to you here now in the quiet moments of self-doubt? Maybe your challenge isn't world-changing. Maybe it's getting up early, keeping a promise to yourself, or starting again after disappointment. Every day offers a chance to persist. Every minor victory, a finished workout, a completed task, a conversation you dreaded but had anyway. These are stones in the foundation of your future self. The Stoics urge us to focus on what we can control: our actions, our attitude, our willingness to start again. The goal isn't to avoid failure, but to develop the strength to face it without bitterness. You will not win every time, but if you refuse to let setbacks define you, you'll discover a kind of power no talent can replace. As the philosopher Seneca put it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Each day you persist, you claim a little more of your own life. So the question is not whether you will encounter obstacles. You will. The real question is, will you get back up? Will you learn, adapt, and take another step? The world remembers those who kept going. Tomorrow, when you're tempted to quit, remember the path belongs to those who walk it, not just those who dream. What keeps you moving forward when things get tough? Share your thoughts or your own story of perseverance in the comments. I'd love to hear how you keep going. 5. Discipline. The real shortcut to discipline. The real shortcut to success. Success. Sometimes after talking about perseverance and its quiet power, the way it keeps you standing when others have already given up, the next question comes almost naturally. But how do you keep going day after day? When the feeling of trying wears off, that's when the conversation must shift from just not giving up to the less glamorous but far more powerful reality: discipline. Maybe you felt it yourself. You wake up early one morning determined to turn your life around. You write down your goals. You tell yourself, this time will be different. But by the third or fourth day, the initial excitement is gone. The routine starts to feel heavy. You wonder if you're just not meant to succeed, or if you're missing some hidden secret others seem to have. Here's the truth. There is no secret. There is only discipline. Let's be honest, discipline is not glamorous. It doesn't look like the motivational posters or the highlight reels on social media. It's silent. It's unglamorous. It's the act of showing up when nobody is watching, when nobody is cheering you on, when your body is tired and your mind tells you to quit. Discipline is what remains when motivation has long left the room. You might believe that success belongs to the most talented or the most inspired, but the world is full of talented people who never finished what they started, and inspired people whose energy vanished when things got hard. The man who has discipline, the one who builds a habit, sticks with it through boredom, fatigue, and self-doubt, will always outlast them. Discipline isn't about doing extraordinary things. It's about doing ordinary things over and over until they produce extraordinary results. Consider David Goggins, a name you may have heard or maybe not. Once overweight and working as a pest control worker, Goggins decided one day that he would change his life. Not by chasing after shortcuts, but by committing to relentless discipline. He ran, he trained, he suffered. There were days he could barely get out of bed, days his mind screamed at him to stop. He did not rely on motivation. He trained himself to show up, regardless of how he felt. Over the years, Goggins became a Navy SEAL, an ultramarathon runner, and a symbol of what disciplined daily action can do. Not because he was special, but because he was consistent. What about you? Maybe your mind is whispering, "That's too extreme. I'm not David Goggins." Fair enough. You don't have to be. The point isn't to copy someone else's path. It's to recognize that discipline looks the same everywhere. It's the act of doing what you said you'd do, even when it feels pointless, boring, or exhausting. It's getting up to exercise when your muscles ache. It's writing another page when the words feel dry. It's working on your project day by day when results seem invisible. Here's the problem most people face. They wait for motivation. They chase after inspiration. They think, "I'll act when I feel ready." But readiness rarely comes. If you only work when you're excited, you'll work very little. Stoicism cuts through this illusion. It says, forget how you feel, show up anyway. Control what you can, your choices, your actions, no matter how small they seem. If you look for the shortcut, discipline is it. But it's not what you want to hear, because discipline asks you to be responsible for your own progress. No one else can do it for you. No technique, no hack, no hidden method, just you facing yourself. The greatest trap is believing you need to be perfect or never miss a day. That's not discipline. Discipline is showing up again after you fail, after you skip a day, after you lose your way. It's not a straight line. It's a return over and over to what matters. I once met a man in his late 40s who finally learned to play the piano. He wasn't talented. He started late and progress was painfully slow. But every evening after work, he sat at the keys for 20 minutes, whether he wanted to or not. A year passed, 2 years. One day, he played a song from start to finish without a single mistake. It wasn't luck or sudden inspiration, it was discipline, quietly building a new life under the surface. So let's be clear, if you want to change, discipline is the real shortcut. It isn't flashy, it isn't quick, it is simply this: show up, do the work, repeat. You don't need a new method. You don't need permission. You need to start today. Even if you don't feel ready, then start again tomorrow. One day you'll look back and see you've built something real, one ordinary day at a time. 6. Small daily victories are more. Small daily victories are more important than large, short-term efforts. Important than large, short-term efforts. Discipline, the real shortcut to success. It sounds like a line you've heard 1,000 times, but have you ever truly let it sink in? You might still be looking for that single breakthrough, the one massive effort that will transform your life overnight. But let's be honest, it never arrives. What actually changes you is much smaller and much more uncomfortable to accept: small daily victories. Maybe you recognize yourself in this. There are days when you wake up with determination, convinced that today is the day you'll finally overhaul your routines, tackle your goals, and do everything you've put off. The motivation is real for a few hours. You make grand plans. Maybe you even take a big swing at something you care about, sign up for a marathon, launch into a strict new diet, or write out a business plan in one feverish night. And then what? A few days later, you're tired. The spark fades. The routines you promised yourself unravel. You skip the gym once, twice. You eat just one thing off the plan. The business idea collects dust in your inbox. At first, you brush it off. Tell yourself you'll get back on track tomorrow, but tomorrow never quite arrives. Why does this pattern repeat no matter how sincere you are in your efforts? Here's the contradiction most people never face. The bigger your effort in a short time, the faster you burn out. It's seductive to think that intensity can replace consistency, but it never does. The more you try to conquer everything in one burst, the more you end up doing nothing at all. And yet we keep believing the next big push will finally be different. It isn't because you lack willpower or talent. It isn't because you're broken. It's because you're human and your mind is wired to crave quick wins and instant results. Society sells you on transformation in 30 days. The reality is slower, much less glamorous, but it works. And that reality is discipline. The ability to show up every day, even when no one notices, even when you're bored or exhausted or doubting yourself. Let me tell you about Jack. Jack isn't exceptional. He's not a natural genius, not the most talented in the room. For years, he jumped from one ambitious project to another. Crash diets, online business schemes, workout challenges. Each time he'd go all in for a week, sometimes two. Then life would happen. He'd get tired or sick or bored. He'd miss a day, then another. In his own words, I started strong, but I never finished anything. Every failure chipped away at my belief in myself. Everything changed for Jack when he stopped aiming for radical overhaul and focused instead on winning each day in the smallest way possible. He set the simplest rules for himself. Read 10 pages, walk for 20 minutes, write 100 words, eat one healthy meal. On some days, he barely scraped by. The effort felt pointless at times.